Of course. All right, here we go. Hello, hello, welcome. Good afternoon, all. Thanks for being here. We're going to get started in just a couple moments. So sit tight and then we will turn it over to our wonderful presenters. Thanks for being here. Good afternoon. Thanks for those who are just joining. We will get started in just a few moments. How's audio? Thumbs up? Can folks hear? Okay, thank you, Kelly. All right, we'll get started in just another minute. Hopefully folks have water, you're getting comfy, ready for a great session.
So Megan, I think we're all set.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this afternoon for one of our sessions as part of our Western Regional Careers and Student Affairs Month. I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic presenters, and we are excited to have you all. Thanks for being here and spending time. Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
So much, Megan. And thank you also to their staff who are here from NASPA. We appreciate you. Hello, everyone who is in attendance. We appreciate you all coming today. My name is Ben Mendoza. My pronouns are he, him, él. I am currently serving as a full-time assistant coordinator at San Diego State University, overseeing our residential education office and also our Pierce Greek Life Center. And I will go ahead and pass it off to my co-presenter.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Chloe Marie. You can just call me Chloe. I use she, they, shop pronouns. I'm also a graduate student at San Diego State University for their post-secondary educational leadership and student affairs. I am also assistant coordinator, similar to Ben. I work with first-year community here at San Diego State, specifically Washiakak in residential education office, and I also work at the Center of Student Orgs and Activities. All right. And as we get people piling in, I know this is virtual, but in recognition of San Diego State University, we do have a land acknowledgement. We stand upon a land that carries the footsteps of the millennia of the Kumeyaay people. They are a people whose traditional lifeways intertwine with the worldview of earth and sky and community of living beings. This land is a part of a relationship that has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced the Kumeyaay people to the present day. It is part of the worldview founded in the harmony of cycles of the sky and balances in the forces of life. For the Kumeyaay, red and black represent the balance of those forces that provide harmony within our bodies and the world around us. As students, faculty, staff, and alumni of San Diego State University, we acknowledge this legacy from the Kumeyaay. We promote this balance in life as we pursue our goals of knowledge and the legacy of the red and black. It is the land of the Kumeyaay. Iyai Ilun, my heart is good.
Thank you for that. So just a little reminder, our presentation today is titled Creating, Recognizing, and Celebrating Transformative Moments Through Simple Actions from Displaying Our Authentic Selves. So we're going to start off with the first aspect of that title is creating. A little story time. As I mentioned, I'm a full-time professional, but when I was an undergrad, one of my first roles within student affairs was serving as a resident advisor for our housing community at Cal State Fullerton. When I started the role, I was given the opportunity to accept the role around March, right? That's when offers usually given of 2020. Coincidentally, that's also when the COVID pandemic occurred and started like shutting down institutions or closing institutions. And so that was really nerve-wracking, obviously, for a number of reasons. And moving forward into the academic year from 2020, 2021, I had still been offered the resident advisor position to come supervise those residents who were still living on campus out of need. So I was gonna plan on taking that offer. And so once it hit, I believe August, we started our training. And so I moved out for the first time ever, leaving home, which was a big deal in my being first generation Latinx student. You know, my family was very nervous for me, being especially, I believe, 19 at the time, so I was still pretty young. And so I moved out, and I felt very guilty about obviously leaving my family behind in a sense. And it was a very rough time, obviously, my first time leaving home and not being with my family. And it was again just being vulnerable and with full transparency. It became worse. My family had been greatly affected by COVID-19, and both my parents got the virus. My mom was able to recover. My father unfortunately passed away around that same time, which was really unfortunate. And so that I also say that in transparency, just to kind of be vulnerable and also share that, because going into this role of living on campus and leaving home, this had happened maybe like a week after I moved out. And so I was very guilty, very hurt, very lost, very just in my emotional distress period. So it was really rough for me, honestly. And I remember my second day living there, right? We didn't have residents yet fully. So it was just kind of me, the other RAs, some of our staff members, and very few residents were there at that time. So it was very early on, they hadn't moved in yet. And I remember one day I parked my car and I was walking to my apartment and I saw somebody with a moving bin. And I was like struggling to get it over a curb. And just because I was walking my apartment anyways, I decided to help them out. So I helped them out to get the curb and get their moving bin over the curb. And as I was walking away, they asked me some sort of question. I replied. And then I kind of noticed again, they were moving in, they had a lot of stuff in their moving bin, and I asked if they needed help. So they looked, they were struggling and they were by themselves. And so they said yes. I helped them out through us building rapport and whatnot, moving in the elevator in the building. I realized, and they told me that they were actually my resident. I was going to be their RA, so that was wonderful. I was really glad that I got to meet one of my residents early on. And we had a great conversation. We spent like an hour together helping them move in. And then afterwards, they offered to cook me dinner and everything like that. They were very grateful. And well, I did say no. I appreciate the offer, but I said no, and it was all fine. And we moved on with our lives. And that year was great. As my resident, they were a really interactive person and contributed to the floor a lot. And after that year, I didn't really speak to them that much. I saw them kind of in passing every now and then. And then they graduated a semester before I did, 3 years later. So 3 years later, I was still in RA working, you know, thinking about going into student affairs as a career. And 3 years later, before I graduated a semester, before that, they had found me and they reached out to me and let me know they were graduating, and I was very excited for them. And then they were just kind of honest with me and let me know that, you know, when that I helped them move in originally 3 years prior, they were very hesitant on being here at Cal State Fullerton, finishing off their college experience, and they also this is the first time moving away, moving on campus. So they were having a big struggle internally, and they just did not know what to do. They were very, very certain they were going to move out, go back home, drop out of school, and it was a very difficult time for them as well. And they were quite honest and said that me helping them move in, me helping them, you know, be that kind of center for friendship of that time period, right, when they moved in, was part of the majority reason why they decided to stay and give them kind of a positive outlook on the community of Cal State Fullerton as a whole. And so I share this story because to me, at the time, it just felt like I was helping them move in. It was just me being a good RA, me doing my job, me sharing some sort of kindness, right? And that was about it. I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't think it had that much of an impact. I just thought it was probably a good day for them. It was a good day for me, and that was as far as it goes. But to hear that my kindness and my extra effort to, you know, help out a community member went as far as to keep them, you know, within higher education was really moving to me. And a lot of times we place leadership, we place change on this pedestal, and it's impossible to reach, you know, and it's really like you can't be considered a leader, quote unquote. You can't make change unless you're changing a whole nation. You're not a leader unless you know, lead a march. It's something grand, quote unquote, right? And I think we start to lose sight of within this field, we can all have potential to be leaders. We all have the potential to make change, whether that be to an institution, to the whole world, or to one person. It's still a difference that we're making positively. And so I tell this story again just because part of why we have this presentation today was to remind everybody here that we all have the potential to create change and create positive impacts on the students we serve and the communities that we're a part of. So while I share that story, I'm gonna go ahead also in the chat and place a Jamboard link if y'all have. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Chloe. Really good co-presenter. We're gonna go ahead and place a Jamboard in the chat if y'all have the access to that. Please, if you need help, let us know. But if you would open that up, the first slide, which we hope you say there, please don't move on to other questions. On that first slide, we ask a little question, and we hope that y'all have access to the post-it feature to write down answers to it on the Jamboard. And we're gonna ask, do you answer this question? The question is, what are some attributes you have that can create transformative moments? And these attributes can be anything from leadership attributes, personality attributes, or just general strengths that you have that you believe can contribute to creating transformative moments. It can be anything up to interpretation. And if y'all can put that on the Jamboard, please, that'd be great. And then we're gonna give you about 3-4 minutes to write those down, get some juices flowing. And then we're gonna go ahead and ask y'all to share out. So I'll give y'all a quick second to do that.
If for whatever reason you cannot access the Jamboard, or if you're having difficulty and you'd rather just post it in the chat, we're open to doing that as well. All right, everybody start wrapping up. Just like give it another minute.
Go ahead. I see people still putting stuff in the Jamboard, which is great. We're gonna go ahead and share our screen so we can all, as a community, go ahead and look at some of the responses people put on this Jamboard. Can everybody see that okay? Some quick thumbs up. Awesome, thank you. All right. Oh, Zoom is acting up right now. There we go. Okay, cool. So we have we have some things here. We have a lot of empathy, which I think is beautiful, emotional intelligence, a willingness to listen, supportive, awareness, passion, compassion, drive, in all caps. That's great. And kindness. I see there's one in the top left green. It's more of like a longer post-it note. If anybody or whoever wrote that was willing to share, I would ask y'all please do that right now, just so we can hear from you. And that's all good too. So the green one on the top left says ability to speak with students and ask them personal questions like how are classes going, etc., more than how are you. Valid, very valid. And I think again, I really like looking over all these and understanding that again, with this Jamboard, it's really clear to see that there are a lot of different strengths we all bring to the table and a lot of different attributes we have that contribute to leadership and that contribute to creating transformative moments for others, right? Whether that be again something like empathy, something like kindness or drive. It's very different things, but all contribute to the same result, right? Is that helping others and helping others see a more positive result in their lives. That's awesome. Does anybody have any sort of like comments they want to make on their Jamboard contribution or anything like that before I move on? Awesome. Okay.
Okay, on to our next section. And actually, Ben, can you open the Jamboard just so they can think about the second question following? And just to preface, our presentation is not like your usual PowerPoint. As you can tell, we don't really have one. This one was definitely more based on a roundtable discussion as we were preparing to present in person. But as you know, we had to pivot via Zoom. So thank you so much for everyone being vulnerable in our space and really sharing in our safe space that we have today. So as part 2 of our transformative moments in our presentation today, we have recognition. And so Ben, if you can go slide to number 2. I'll start with the question first. Who has made a transformative moment in your journey and what did they do? So in this portion of the presentation, when it comes to recognition, I really wanted to take a moment to recognize the people who have come before us, recognize our predecessors, recognize our salient identities that we have, especially within our cultural identities. Especially for me in particular, I think this portion in recognition was to recognize that I am an immigrant, my English is the second language, and I think that recognition really did take a big part in my educational career because when I was growing up, English as my second language, I had to take additional classes. I wasn't really proficient in English. I was originally born in Bataan, Philippines. My first language is Tagalog. And so coming into a space where higher education and reading and writing and literacy was everything you had, and to be told growing up that I wasn't exactly proficient in it, really downgraded like my self-esteem within my reading and writing skills. But now here I am in front of you pursuing my master's degree. I also do research here at San Diego State University with Ben and our mentor, Dr. Felix. And now I get to write in these spaces and really get to share my stories and recognizing that these stories really do have such a meaningful impact. As Ben shared his story, maybe his students didn't really recognize where he was coming from, but Ben understanding who he was really translated that to the transformative moments for those students. And especially since we work with marginalized populations, especially for me, being a first generation, working with my immigrant populations, working with Filipino American student populations, really recognizing where they're coming from, recognizing their story, and recognizing who they are as an authentic person in the workspace is really, really important to me. I feel like professionalism can be interpreted in very many different ways. And one of those conversations is being authentic in the workplace. Some people may say they wear different caps in the workplace, but I also think recognizing how we present ourselves in the space and recognizing how and what we're sharing in those spaces really does mean a lot for our students and for ourselves when we come to find who we are. Recognizing how far you have gone on as an individual while recognizing your predecessors is that gratitude component that we keep alluding to, and really thanking them for paving the way for those before us, especially when we recognize the historical context, like for example, the land acknowledgement, really recognizing that there were indigenous people here before us, and thanks to the Morris Act, this institution was able to build on their land. And so recognizing them through the land acknowledgement really does give that level of respect and care for the people that were there before us. Especially when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion movements, those initiatives really do recognize what happened in the past and really how we can move forward. So everyone, if you can take a moment to now answer question number 2 and really share your transformative moment. And if you'd like to share at the end, that'd be great as well. And if you can't access the Jamboard, again, you can also access the chat.
So quick note, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just so y'all, I don't want to share the screen and have it blocking up the Jamboard for y'all. So that y'all can feel free to edit the Jamboard or put your thoughts in the chat, and we will be giving y'all a few seconds to do that.
All right, I'll give you another minute to wrap up your thoughts. And then once it hits that minute, I'll ask for someone to share. All right, it's 12:23. Ben, if you could pull that up again, that would be great. Thank you, thank you. Wonderful. Would anyone like to share what they put on their little sticky note?
I can share mine, Chloe.
Thank you. For
On mine on the top right, I talked about a mentor of mine, Tyler Powell. He and I'll just read through, have discussed at great lengths like the impact of our Indigenous roots. And he was one of the first people in higher education, if not the first, to ever really have deep conversations with me about that and how that shows up in our work with students. Particularly, like the examples that I can think of the most are when we've talked about our roles in like a community approach, particularly in the residence halls, as well as our relationship with conflict and reparation of harm, and how our communities have handled conflict in different ways than what is considered the norm in American society, and how that plays a role in institutions here. And also, I think one of the most powerful things about his interactions with me were that even as an undergraduate student, he was one of the first to point out very, very specific traits in me that he saw in my leadership skills. And he saw me as a leader, even as an undergraduate student, and didn't treat me as if I was lesser than or didn't have as much to bring to the table because of it. So he's just one of my more impactful mentors. So I wanted to give him a little shout out here.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Snaps for Brasilia. Would anyone else like to share? We do have another minute or two. All right, if not, that's okay as well. I'll read some of them out loud. My students, as I was beginning this career path, we have a sociology professor in community college that helped hold them accountable for making sure they did well in school. I was also a sociology major, so shout out to sociology. My mom and my mentors, they supported and guided me unconditionally and continue to do so. My friends that provide unconditional support. My fellow undergrad RAs, shout out to our student leaders. We have mentors, friends, and family. We also have mentors and femtors. I like that. They guided me into figuring out why and advocated for me. We have a former dean of students / NUF mentor. Oh, shout out to NUF. Ben and I were also NUF mentees just a couple months ago. They guided them toward their educational journey and my current path. And then we also have my boss / advisor as a student. She just created so many opportunities for me to learn and grow in my field. And as a person, I wouldn't be the individual I am today without her. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I was going to shout out my mentor who was also in the room, but unfortunately, I think he just left. His name is Austin Isaias. He really did start me in my higher education journey. He was one of the pivotal moments when I was moving from being a nursing student onto a sociology student, onto a higher education student in student affairs. Just like all of these, he was my mentor. He was also my boss. He was like one of my first bosses, who really advocated for me throughout my journey. So shout out to him in spirit. He was just here a moment ago. But thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. And we're going to go on to our next activity.
Before we move on to our last part of our presentation, I just want to make a note again and bring it all back to creating, right? So when we look at this gem board, I think it's really important to note, again, focusing on the aspect of creating transformative moments, how many different avenues there are and individuals in our lives that have the potential to create these moments for us. So we see students, we see mentors, bosses, advisors, dean of students, friends, coworkers, parents, mothers, mom, like it ranges. There's anybody has the potential to be a leader and to create change in someone else's life. And that's essentially again what we want to emphasize really big is that it doesn't matter who you are or what you do, you have potential to be great. Again, reflecting also back to my own individual story, I was at a point in my life where I felt very lost. The last thing I wanted to do was help others. I was just focusing on me and I was in a bad place. And somehow I was able to help somebody else in their life. So again, whether, it doesn't matter what you do, where your role is, where you are at in your life, even if you're down in the dumps, upset and emotionally and distraught. So again, remember the potential you have to be a great person. And with that being said, right, that's essentially emphasizes, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, essentially emphasizes the creating aspect of this presentation. And just again, we moved on to recognizing with Chloe, again, to acknowledge the others before us who put in the work to put us in these positions, and then also others in our own lives that created moments for us to be where we're at today and create those transformative moments. So that's great. And now we're moving on to the last aspect of our presentation, which is celebrating. Out of all the notes and people that were given shout outs via the Jamboard, right? I'm just, out of curiosity, just rhetorical question. How many of y'all probably have actually told them this? They've made these changes in your lives, have said thank you, have given them this sincere vulnerability of authenticity of what they've done for you and the effort that it's put in by them to change your life, right? These moments and these intentional thoughts and moments of sharing gratitude can be rough. Honestly, it's not something that comes easy to everybody. But we have to make sure we remember that if these individuals really do what we say, right, and they put you on the path to this career, they changed your life, they did XYZ, they're worthy of us letting them know that, right? And we want to make sure we know that these individuals and all their effort, all their kindness, respect, and whatnot changed us for the better, and that they are having potential and are being leaders currently, right? So moving on to celebrating, we're gonna go on to our last activity. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again. We call it the gratitude garden. And essentially what y'all are going to be doing while I talk, thank you. While I talk, what y'all are going to be doing are putting post-its here or pictures, whatever you'd like, of individuals who have made those transformative moments for you. You can also put post-its to give those people shout outs. Also intentionally knowing that if you want to, you can give yourself a shout out for the effort that you put in every day into your roles or just into being, because that's hard sometimes. So, I mean, give a shout out to whoever, yourself, to others, whoever you like right now, via post-it, via pictures, if you like, do whatever you'd like. And I'm going to continue talking as y'all do that. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, I just wanted to show you what it looks like. But y'all can start doing that, and I'm going to keep kind of ranting on a little bit. Just for the explanation of why we call it the gratitude garden, right? So we call it the gratitude garden because we're hoping with this activity, we're essentially planting seeds for gratitude to be shared outside of this activity. So I know, again, within this safe space, it might be easier to be a little more vulnerable with your stories and with acknowledging these individuals who have made a difference in your lives. But we really want to make sure that we take this practice and take it into real world interactions, especially within the field of higher education and student affairs. It can sometimes feel like a very thankless field. And all different functional areas can be so rough at so many different times. And it's really hard, honestly, just to get a sincere thank you from anybody, from students, sometimes from your peers. And so just, again, reminding y'all the power that y'all have, not even just to make moments for other people, but just to acknowledge these moments from your coworkers, from your peers, from your students, acknowledging these individuals and the work they're putting in and how much effort and appreciation you have for them. It's really impactful and it can make a difference in anybody's life. So again, we're hoping that with this activity, y'all get a start for it and a feel for expressing gratitude for others. And then hopefully after this presentation today, you have the power again to say thank you to somebody or to share with someone vulnerably that they mean a lot to you and what they've done for you. So we're going to go ahead and give you about 2 more minutes to fill out the Garden of Gratitude Jamboard. And then we'll have y'all read some of those out loud, okay? We're going to give you another minute to wrap up your shout outs. And just again, looking through these already, I'm tearing up. I'm getting emotional. So again, I appreciate your vulnerability and I appreciate y'all continuing to put in effort to do this. But we'll give you another minute to wrap these up. Go back to sharing the screen of the gratitude garden. There you go. Okay. Oh, you've been talking. I need to make sure I'm not on my mic as well. Is it on? Because I'm gonna shake their head. Okay, for sure. Sorry. It was Zoom, you never know. Yeah, so again, here we have some of our great shout outs today and some great stories shared. Um, before I ask for share out for people to share out what they wrote, I just want to again amplify that with all these shout outs, the purpose of this activity, right, is to hone in on that vulnerability of sharing thanks to others and expressing gratitude for those that mean a lot to you and have done a lot for you in your lives. So with that being said, I really want to I just want to urge you all to, with this activity, when I ask you to share out, to please do your best to make that effort to share your stories and what you wrote, because again, your truth matters and what your perspective is on all this and how much you appreciate this individual should be shared by you and your words. So if anybody wants to share out, please go ahead. We would love to hear what you have to say and who you appreciate.
I can go first. Hello everyone. My name is Anna. I was Chloe's NOTA intern when I interned at Cal State Fullerton, and now I'm back working at the University of Florida, so on the East Coast. And I'm just very proud of Chloe because I remember me and my other NOTA co-intern, we would have a lot of conversations about like student affairs, higher education, how we got to where we were, and the conversation of if like Chloe ultimately wanted to switch into this career path, and our relationship like lasted post Cal State Fullerton and from coast to coast. And I had like a little moment in the beginning of this of like, I am just so proud of them. So Chloe, you continue to shine and I'm just super proud of you, and San Diego is so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. Shout out to Anna. She really did put me on this path too. She was actually the one who showed me how to apply to graduate school and open applications for me. So thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate all your kind words. And thank you, Austin, for your kind words in the chat as well. We see you. Anyone else would like to share with us?
Well, everybody wants to share. I can see the urgency in all your eyes and hands being raised, but I'll go ahead and share before y'all do, if I have that opportunity. I made a couple posts actually on this. In the bottom right, there's a picture of a bunch of people in flannels. This is actually a picture of Chloe and I's team at San Diego State University, our assistant coordinator team with our two supervisors. And I posted this picture because it meant a lot to me. It's just, we took this other day at a little fall flannel party we had as a sort of like get together to try to celebrate again what we've been doing so far this year. And I put this picture in the Jamboard because these individuals, although they might not know it and I might not say it enough, done a lot for me. Moving into my first full-time role, it's very, very, very nerve-wracking. A lot of imposter syndrome hitting me, and just a lot of reality coming into being a full-time professional, also being in graduate school. It's tough, and I didn't think it would be that hard. So now actually being in it, the stress was overwhelming. The amount of work we had to do was terrifying. And the fact that we've just all been able to in a great way, suffer through it together and just be there for each other throughout this journey, with constant support and everything, has meant so much to me. And so they've really made an impact in my life and the journey I've had starting to be a full-time professional. And I've also did in the middle of the Jamboard, I wrote another shout out to my mom for always being my rock and supporter no matter what I do, no matter what silly decisions I make sometimes. And if anybody else would like to share, please go ahead and take this time now. I go ahead and read them out anyways. So we have more shout outs to Chloe for being, oh, they're proud of, someone's proud of you, and seeing you present here shows how far you've come. So props to Chloe. A special thanks to all the amazing people that have encouraged me throughout my academic journey. Awesome. Shout out to my awesome cohort mates presenting today. Proud of you. Shout out to the supervisors in the room. I appreciate you. Shout out to my supervisor, who is a full-time doctoral student. Wow. Director of student life and brand new dad. Congrats to fatherhood and to school and to work. Shout out to our moderators. Shout out to Ben and Chloe, who are part of the resistance cohort. You all truly exemplify what it means to be resistant and leaders of change. The Nota one was from Anna, so that's great. We've already heard that one. Thank you, education in general, for helping steer my life and creating opportunities to meet different and diverse people who have helped me and navigate me in so many ways. Beautiful statement. Shout out to Diane, Jesse, Jenny, Carrie, Rosalie, and Gary. It's a lot of people. Each of y'all gave me valuable tools at various stages of my journey and continue to help me succeed in my roles. Very sweet. Shout out to my MSW cohort. We're halfway done with fall. Thank goodness. School's hard. Shout out to all our participants today. Shout out to Adrian. He has been my rock for the last couple of months, and I'm grateful for our friendship. And I believe that's all of them. Again, all very sweet. And as I mentioned earlier, all very different roles, different kinds of people and whatnot, different kinds of shout outs. Just again, goes to show, number one, anybody can create change. Anybody can have an impact on someone else's life. And that's beautiful. And then moving on again to this celebrating portion of our presentation, while it might feel nerve-wracking, maybe a little embarrassing sometimes to share how much someone has made an impact on your life and how much you appreciate them, like just reading these messages again make me emotional. I'm sure y'all feel some type of way reading these out. So it's beautiful, honestly, to read these out. And you, as you saw when Anna gave their shout out to Chloe, Chloe got emotional and vice versa. So I mean, it really does help move people, and it makes us again thankful and acknowledging the work that we do every day and how difficult it is. It does make us appreciate why we're here and remember that we're here to help people ultimately and make a difference.
I wanted to give a shout out to everyone in the room with us. Thank you so much to our moderators for helping us out today. We wouldn't have done it without y'all, really making this process easier for us. Huge shout out to NASPA for having this space for us today to really speak on these sessions. I remember back a couple months ago when Ben and I were NUF mentees, we were the ones in the participant seats, and now here we are as presenters. So humongous shout out to the NUF program over at NASPA, which is their undergraduate fellowship program that also assisted Ben and I here in our careers today. And thank you to all for really sharing and being vulnerable, like I said, in our spaces, really being authentically yourself. Here in this Zoom room for an hour, I really congratulate you all for sharing, even though it was via post-it note and maybe not so much verbally, but we can read it, I see you. And I guess another huge takeaway as we wrap up today is to really take a moment from mindfulness. Higher ed and life in general goes so quickly, and the next thing you know, you're in your next chapter of your life, and without realizing it, you are exactly where you need to be, and you're exactly where you were wishing you were just a couple months and years ago. So really taking that mindful moment to not only congratulate other people, but congratulate yourself. Congratulate everything you've accomplished, all your hardships, everything you've endured. You've also been there for yourself as your very own supporter, your own rock. As we give gratitude for other people and ourselves, it affirms our identities and the work we do. I acknowledge that certain functional areas could be definitely a lot more difficult than others, and every functional area has their own ups and downs. But really taking the moment to thank your teams, thank the student leaders, thank the populations you're there for, really puts into perspective like the impact that we have among our communities and how important that is for student sense of belonging, worker sense of belonging, because at the end of the day, we just want to feel like we belong and have that space for each other. I also wanted to share a quote that has really gotten me by when I think of like student facing people serving positions like we do today. To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be their entire world. And so sometimes whenever you feel a little defeated in my role, or things aren't going the way I wanted to, or the program wasn't executed to the way I envisioned it, I recognize like, oh, maybe to one person it really did make a difference, and that's all the difference it takes for me. That's personally my core value as I pursue student affairs, as I pursue higher education. Um, it is kind of my calling here to be here today and really share that passion and story with you all here, knowing that these identities we have for each other, these stories we share for each other, there really is a lot of empowerment when you share those stories, when we come together as a community, when we become vulnerable and authentically ourselves, whether that be in our workspace or with our friends or with our family. And personally, from like a collectivist culture, these communities and these spaces mean everything to me. And I'm so, so grateful that all of you got to share a part of your story. And remember that we are all worthy of being leaders, and that we have the power to create a transformative moment everywhere. Shout out to everyone that has endured what we have today. And I know the political climate as of now, really thankful for where we are. And as we wrap up today, we have one more gift for you all. If Ben, would you like to introduce you to the video?
Thank you, Chloe, for those amazing words. Before we go to our last activity, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns from the presentation? You know, if you want to ask to the rest of the space, to the presenters today, we'll go ahead and open up that floor really quickly. Something that's a no. Good. Maybe that's a good sign for us. Maybe we presented really well, so y'all don't have any questions. That's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead though, and again, part of I guess what this whole presentation was about is the transformative moments aspect, right? And so I want to go ahead and take a second to acknowledge what was our inspiration for this presentation idea. We didn't just think of it. So we did get some inspiration from a TED Talk actually by Drew Dudley, and we're going to share that video with you today. And hopefully, if we weren't able to eloquently put the themes and message of today's presentation in our own words well enough for you to understand it, hopefully this video might. And it's from a different perspective, different story. And so this, again, watching this is what gave us the idea and the inspiration to make the presentation for y'all and focus on student affairs specifically. And so, yeah, we're going to share that with you now. I'm not sure if audio will share correctly, so please let me know if it doesn't. There's like a button somewhere. It's like, would you like to share audio? I'm gonna press play, and if y'all can hear me, shake your head, please, or shake your head. No, is it working? Can you hear? No. Okay.
Then if you want to stop your screen share and then
Yes.
start again, and there should be a button, I believe, that if others are more tech savvy, please jump in. But there should be a button that says share with sound.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just now saw that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just made a moment for me right there too. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it now. I'm full screen it. And hopefully y'all enjoy the video. Yes, and again, this was our inspiration, so please take it with a grain of salt and interpret it how you wish.
I want to just start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school in a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, I remember the first time that I met you. And then she told me a story that happened 4 years earlier. She said, on my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day. And if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what. And she said, so I went the next day and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the student union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me and you just stopped and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me and you smiled and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face and you looked at my mom and my dad and you said, look at that, look at that. First day away from home and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said, everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy and I don't know why I'm telling you this, but in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today. Having a great day at TED. I'll see you later.
Y'all. I thought that was beautiful. thank you all for watching that video with us today. And again, just wanted to share that out with y'all in case, again, I understand there's parallel between our presentation and the video. Again, they serve as our inspiration, so that's why there's that. But again, if we weren't able to put things eloquently, this video for me personally is really powerful, very moving, especially the conclusion call to action piece about changing one person's understanding of the whole world. It's really powerful, it's beautiful. And I think personally, again, that is something that needs to be widespread to everybody, right? And so that's why we wanted to present on this today, is to let y'all know again, as mentioned in the video, you are all powerful beyond belief. You all have potential to be a leader. You are leaders, and I'll just go spread that out with the world. Chloe, do you have any wrap-up thoughts before we let them go?
Yes. Again, like as we move forward in our positions and our lives and our careers, as we grow into better people, calling to gratitude was such a main component of our workshop here today, and I really wanted to tie that in. When you thank other people, when you make those lollipop moments and really push forward with letting people know, expressing, the 5 love languages I'm sure you're all aware of, and really recognizing others in your space and recognizing yourself too. Like, I think one of my biggest takeaways when we were creating this workshop was, as much as we make those moments, much as we make those spaces for other people, remember to also make that space for yourself. Recognize yourself, celebrate yourself, create those moments for yourself, which is just as important for making those for other people. Because to fill other people's buckets, your bucket has to be filled too. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending here today. I think Daniel sent a link for other sessions this month as well for NASPA. Thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks again, y'all.
Thanks everybody for joining. Let's give a virtual round of hugs, applause, hearts for our presenters. Please fill out the session evaluation if you have a moment, and we would love to see folks at some of our other future sessions for this month. But we will close ourselves out, and thank you again, Chloe and Ben.